Joe Biden has never had a private sector job. For more than 50 years, he has worked at your expense for the U.S. government. Yet somehow he's gotten rich in the process. How did that happen? How did Joe Biden do that? Well, Joe Biden does not want you to know. So now, this is the great part, Joe Biden is the one who is hiding his tax returns. JoeBiden.com no longer links to Joe Biden's tax returns for the years 2016 to 2018. As of tonight, those links have been deactivated. If you go there, you will find yourself taken by force to a Democratic Party fundraising website. So, in other words, stop asking questions and give us money. But it does make you wonder what exactly was happening from 2016 to 2018 that Joe Biden might want to hide.
Please, Pittsburgh. Nothing to see here, please.
Today is Wednesday, January 18th, 2023. Was Joe Biden caught destroying evidence of Hunter Biden's money laundering? Oh, buckle in, baby. We got a show for you. The DOJ considers sending FBI agents to raid Biden's house, but decided against it. Very interesting. House Freedom Caucus Chair Scott Perry joins the show to talk about the new based kingdom of the U.S. House and what they're going to do about it all. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Woo, baby, buckle up. Do we have a show for you? Cover up of a crime. What happens when you cover up a crime? Everyone's aware of the cover up, right? Everyone's aware of popular pop culture figures who cover up crimes. They're quite famous, actually. Mr. Wolf from Pulp Fiction. You ever seen Pulp Fiction? Let me know in the comments. It's a Quentin Tarantino movie. It's very famous, very interesting. I like the movie a lot. Arguably the best scene is when a man named Mr. Wolf, who's this mysterious tuxedoed man, gets called in to cover up a gruesome murder inside of a Cadillac vehicle. And Mr. Wolf is a professional, and he works on making sure that the two hitmen, played by Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta, respectively, get away essentially with murder. And he is the cover-up artist. Nobody knows what to do, and they call in Mr. Wolf. This is a classic scene of exposing what it's like to cover up a crime. This is used often in Hollywood and in cinema. The cover-up artist is a famous type of a character, somebody who swoops in to clean up the misdeeds, the dirty deeds, and the evil happenings of our main characters, or the villains, or the archetypes that you would never want to be. Who's got dirty secrets? You gotta make sure that the authorities don't find out. Now, it's pretty clear when a cover-up's going on. It's pretty obvious. That's why it's in movies, right? This is why many movies, crime movies, are based on the act of covering up a crime. That's part of the plot. How do you get away with it? Who done it? It's an entire genre. And what we're seeing right now, played out in Muppet-like form with our idiot, moronic leaders in this country, is a cover-up. You're watching a cover-up of a crime, a pretense of a crime where lawyers and the greatest agents of our government are either being sent in the wrong direction or being sent to the right locked closets in order to hide the information from you that is in plain sight. And what will be their downfall? Well, as always happens in the movies, there's little crumbs and bread trails and little cake trails that are left throughout the film where if you pick up on the little pieces, you can put them all together and say, wait a second, I know who the murderer is. I know who committed the crime. I know who's guilty here. And this is what we will do today, ladies and gentlemen, in our 3-act performance of the dumbest crime and the dumbest criminals to ever grace the political stage. Now, we like to state this again, since we're just using pop culture and cinema references here. Washington, D.C., and I've lived there for 15 years. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff in Washington, D.C. here and how easy it is to tell that the Bidens are criminals and that they belong in prison. They should go to jail, and they probably will go to jail. I'm going to display, and I'm going to walk you through how Washington, D.C. is not House of Cards, and it's not The West Wing. It's not some Aaron Sorkin screenplay with really intelligent people racontouring inside of the halls of Congress and the back rooms of the White House. Ha ha! What is best for our nation? Let us decide. This is not it. It is not some type of like 9D underwater 4D chess, right? No, ladies and gentlemen, it's Veep. If you're familiar with the show on HBO, it is the dumb asses who are falling ass backwards, not knowing where they're going, and covering up their crimes and their idiocy with more idiocy and more stupidity. Ladies and gentlemen, off the top here, let's talk about Joe Biden's taxes, okay? Just so I will prove this contention for you. DC is run by the dumbest people. It attracts the stupidest, worst people in America, not the best. And those people find themselves in quite a jam right now. Ladies and gentlemen, what happened to Joe Biden's tax documents? Now, you may recall when Joe Biden was running as Orange Man and could do nothing wrong because of Orange Man's skin color, and we don't like the color of Orange Man's skin, the way he does his hair, the way he acts on social media. Well, Joe Biden was an angel. He was so pure as the white driven snow in an Anchorage, Alaska hillside that Joe Biden, well, he released all of his tax documents. You see, Donald Trump won't release his tax documents, and Joe Biden would because he has nothing to hide, you see. And so Joe Biden put those tax documents up onto a website. We would have them on screen for you right now, except for something peculiar happened over the last month. They disappeared. Joe Biden deleted his tax documents. They used to be there for you to see. They used to be there for you to oogle and to say, wow, look at our purest, whitest angel, Joe Biden. And boy, he may not be pure, but he certainly is white. The man's translucent, along with his fake hair and his fake teeth. But you see, Joe Biden's tax documents have disappeared all of the sudden. You need special technology to go back and find them. They used to be out there for everyone to admire, and now they are gone. The first person to notice this was Tucker Carlson. He had this to say.
And then he went on the offense. Show us your tax returns, Biden demanded. Show us your tax returns. And of course, Trump refused. Biden, by contrast, already set up a website called joebiden.com to showcase his own recent tax returns because he had nothing to hide. Unlike Donald Trump, you could trust Joe Biden. That was the message. Now, why are we telling you this tonight? Why are we dredging up history? Well, we're doing it because 2 years later, the roles have reversed in a bewildering and pretty remarkable and kind of hilarious way. So we now have Donald Trump's tax returns. House Democrats grabbed them. Law and precedent and privacy be damned. Privacy. And they released them to the public because Donald Trump is orange and bad and has no protections under the Bill of Rights. So now that we have Trump's tax returns, what do they show? Well, they show that Donald Trump got a lot poorer once he got into politics. In fact, he may be the only person in Washington you could say that about. Whatever you think of Trump, it turns out he was not in it for the money, hardly. As for Joe Biden, well, you can't say that about Joe Biden. Joe Biden has never had a private sector job. For more than 50 years, he has worked at your expense for the U.S. government. Yet somehow he's gotten rich in the process. How did that happen? How did Joe Biden do that? Well, Joe Biden does not want you to know. So now, and this is the great part, Joe Biden is the one who is hiding his tax returns. JoeBiden.com no longer links to Joe Biden's tax returns for the years 2016 to 2018. As of tonight, those links have been deactivated. If you go there, you will find yourself taken by force to a Democratic Party fundraising website. So, in other words, stop asking questions and give us money.
Okay, so Tucker Carlson sort of laid it out very, very nicely and neatly there. But let's get to the actual brass tacks. Let's show you the actual documents. Let us begin to show you why the cover-up is happening. And we've been asking the same question on this show for the better part of a week. And that question is, why exactly were the lawyers of Joe Biden rooting around through his old sock drawers, through his cupboards inside of his garage, through locked closets in old defunct money laundering operations for the University of Pennsylvania and the Chinese Communist Party? Why were Joe Biden's lawyers, which lawyers don't do this, why were they rummaging through all of Joe Biden's unmentionables? His old dusty, can you imagine what this old creep has inside of his house? how many special shower heads that he and Ashley Biden shared together. Again, like, you don't want to go through Joe Biden's house. He is an absolute loser, absolute repulsive, degenerate family. The last place you'd want to be, if you were a law-abiding professional lawyer, is rooting around in old Dusty Joe's private underwear drawer. But here we go. His lawyers were rooting through these places and finding very interesting documents. Classified documents, documents that are utterly illegal. Documents there that Joe Biden has no statutory, no summary, and no plenary power to declassify. Documents that, of course, are flatly illegal to be in his possession, and more importantly, and this is the kicker here, baby, illegal to be in his lawyer's possession, because Joe Biden's private lawyer, his private attorney, not the White House attorney, his private attorney doesn't have a classified clearance. He has no top secret security clearance. So the lawyer handling these documents, also illegal. Again, we're just reading the U.S. code here. So you are aware of the story. You know we found multiple tranches of classified documents all throughout Joe Biden's home. But what was also uncovered? This led Miranda Devine to go uncover an old federal form that Hunter Biden filled out having to do with Hunter Biden's request to become a gun owner inside of the state of Delaware. Now, this document here, filled out in Hunter's own hand, shows a couple things. One, his current address is the Barley Hill residence. This Barley Hill Road residence, this is the mansion, okay? So just call it what it is. This is Joe Biden's mansion, right? The one where all the classified documents are. But more curiously, go ahead and look down there. Maybe we can zoom in. Monthly rent that he pays for this location. Well, $49,000, $50,000 a month. Now, that's enough to pay off the entire mortgage of the house in 16 months or less. That's just if Joe Biden had recently bought it. I think Joe Biden's owned this home for a while. Why is Hunter Biden paying that much money? Why is Joe Biden saying that he's renting this house? On another document, you can see here, a federal document, a driver's license, you can see that Hunter Biden lists this house as his permanent residence. He says he owns this house. This is his Barley Hill Road residence in Wilmington, Delaware. So Joe Biden's mansion is where Hunter Biden says he owns. He says he owns this home. These are two federal documents that conflict with each other. But we're not done yet. Check this out. Rental income reported on Joe Biden's taxes. Why did Joe Biden have to delete his tax forms from the internet? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the internet is forever. When Hunter Biden filled out a federal form under perjury, if you lie to the federal government on an official form, you perjure yourselves. Be careful when you buy guns, ladies and gentlemen. You better be clean. I buy lots of guns. I fill out lots of forms, have to send them into the government. I am telling the truth because that's how they get you. You know, Hunter Biden filled out a form saying he was paying $50,000 a month in rental income. Here's Joe Biden's taxes. They're on screen for you now. You'll notice here a very special section about rental income that Joe Biden isn't declaring any rental income for his home. You're seeing it here, Wilmington, Delaware. There's the address. This is for his specific home. He said that the home was unoccupied, so no one was renting it. Home was apparently unoccupied. Joseph Biden, Jill Biden, there it is at the top. And that he is declaring no rental income. It's a little strange. Let's go ahead and look at the original tweet here, Royce. During the 2017-2018 period, Hunter Biden lived in Barley Hill Road. Joe Biden reported to the IRS that he used the house 0% of the time and did not generate rental income. This is now worthy of a full-on federal investigation. What is Joe Biden hiding exactly? Well, Tucker Carlson asked the most important question, which is, this just sounds like money laundering. This sounds as though Hunter Biden had a giant sum of cash. Where from, we're not exactly sure. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking that as a pejorative question. We'll get to exactly where this money came from to the penny. We found out. Believe that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So this sounds like money laundering, where Hunter Biden is claiming rent at a property. Joe Biden either doesn't know what's going on or is complicit in the money laundering, and they're able to funnel the money through that house and hide it. Keep it in the family. Protect it from federal taxes. Is that what's going on here? Tucker Carlson asking the right questions. Continued.
But it does make you wonder what exactly was happening from 2016 to 2018 that Joe Biden might want to hide. Fair question, but no one in the media seems interested in finding the answer. We do know that during that same period, 2016 to 2018, there was a lot of weird accounting going on at Joe Biden's house in Delaware, the same house where yet another cache of classified documents was just found, yet another. In 2018, Hunter Biden was looking to rent property in California. Now, on a background check form as part of his rental application, Hunter Biden claimed that, in fact, he owned the Delaware house that Joe Biden, his dad, says that he owned. So they're both claiming to own the same house. Hunter Biden then also listed the address of that house as his primary residence on his driver's license, an official government document. Now, this is the very same home where Joe Biden has spent a third of his presidency, in addition to his beach house in Rehoboth, without maintaining any visitor logs.
So, upon the revelation of this information in Hunter Biden's old federal documents, that again, you perjure yourself before the federal government. You lie on your driver's license? Try it. Try it. Lie on your driver's license. See what happens. You'll go to prison. You cannot lie on federal forms, especially ATF forms. Going to the FBI, especially when you're trying to buy a firearm. You cannot lie on these forms. So Hunter Biden is declaring on these forms, number one, I own Joe Biden's house. Number two, I pay rent for a home that I own. $50,000, $49,000. It's actually very important. $49,910. That's the amount I pay in rent. That exact number is the amount to the dollar that I pay in rent. And then Joe Biden mysteriously, once these documents become of public note, Joe Biden deletes his tax forms from the internet. Strange sequence of events. Is Mr. Wolf involved here? What's going on exactly? Well, the Gateway Pundit dug up the old tax filings. They had to use a special internet tool called the Wayback Machine and had to find out exactly why Joe Biden deleted these documents from 2016, 17, and 18. As reported earlier, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris proudly displayed their tax filings on JoeBiden.com webpage. Suddenly, the documents were taken down, and it sent readers to a fundraising page. The Gateway Pundit investigated the documents in the Wayback Machine, and links to their financial disclosures are here. The original tax document filings of 2016, 2017, and 2018. You can go ahead and find the documents there, but we'll summarize it for you because these tax documents, as all tax documents, are laborious. It doesn't show anything matching Hunter Biden's supposed rental income inside of this property. So why is Hunter Biden claiming, and this is key, why is Hunter Biden claiming $49,910 in rent to Joe Biden? Why? Where did that exact number to the penny come from? You see, this is why I say that the dumbest people are in charge in Washington, D.C. That it's not House of Cards or West Wing. That it is Veep. That these people are Muppets. They're true morons. And they've gotten away with so much for so long, maybe they've even forgotten how to cover their crimes. Check this reporting out, man. This one is a doozy. Buckle up. Hunter Biden's $49,910 rent to Joe Biden exactly matches the deposit on an office he shared with a Chinese energy company. Now, we're going to unpack this. Get ready. We've done all the research. We've been spending hours actually going over all this. And we have so much to share with you. Let us start off with, what is the House of Sweden? Okay? Let's ask that question. This is an important one. We'll read the beginning of the article, but then we'll tell you exactly what's going on here. Hunter Biden's monthly rent of $49,900 matches the rental deposit for the House of Sweden related to the Biden crime family and a venture of the infamous CEFC Chinese energy company. Hunter's $49,910 deposit matches the amount of money that he logged on a 2018 background check document unearthed by New York Post Miranda Devine. In an email of October 13th, 2017, Celia Browning, the general manager of the House of Sweden, an office complex in Washington, D.C., emailed Hunter that the lease for him and his Chinese business partner were trying to terminate. According to the emails unearthed from Hunter's laptop from hell, Browning notes that the amount of the deposit was $49,910 for the office space that would be rented to Hunter upon signing the lease termination document. Okay, let's unpack all this. House of Sweden. There's a lot of terminology here. If you can't explain it to a 14-year-old, you shouldn't be in media. So here we go. We've done the research. This is the House of Sweden. Okay, you can go find the webpage right now. What's the webpage? houseofsweden.org. This is the House of Sweden. This is a very fancy office building in Washington, D.C. Look at that. Look at that. That right on the waterfront in Georgetown. That's the place. Right there. Look at that. Look at these beautiful Scandinavian architecture. Look at that rooftop. Oh, how fancy. This is what Hunter Biden rented. Ooh, very artistic. Artwork by Raman. Okay. And then, I don't know, Hillary Clinton or someone, looking at glass. Whatever. Fancy schmancy, globalist, postmodernist building in Washington, D.C., right on the waterfront. This is the office that Hunter Biden rented to be the shared office space between him and the Chinese energy company. That Chinese energy company called CEFC. We don't like acronyms or abbreviations on the show, so we'll just call it the Communist Chinese Party Energy Company that Hunter Biden went into business with. Here's the Wikipedia for it, just so that you know. CEFC, Chinese Energy. Chinese Energy Company was a Chinese energy conglomerate. The company was among 10 largest private companies in China in 2014. 2017, the company was listed Fortune Global 500. March 2020, the company, alongside its subsidiaries in Shanghai, was declared bankrupt. The company used a complex web of affiliates and companies to facilitate fake deals, inflate trade figures, and obtain bank loans to fuel its aggressive expansion. Now, it doesn't exactly mention Hunter Biden in this, but this is the company, okay? This is the company that the Bidens were working with, and this is the company that bought office space. This Chinese energy company, fraudulent Chinese energy company, that, by the way, is against American interests, run by the Communist Party of China, they bought office space here. Show them the House of Sweden. This House of Sweden is where that Chinese energy company and Hunter Biden bought office space together. Maybe you've heard the stories of Hunter Biden sharing an office with a Chinese energy company, that he had to get keys cut for Joe and Jill Biden and ping, ping, bong, bong. Fang, fang, bang, bang, whatever the guy's name, Mr. Dong, or whatever the guy's name is. I mean, the guy's literal name is Mr. Dong, all right? Again, this is inside of Hunter Biden's own documents. That's the building. That's where they're getting office space. Hunter Biden had that deal fall apart as his entire life was falling apart. In the midst of the fever of his cocaine habit and his meth habit, Hunter Biden had everything in his life collapsed around 2018, 2019, along with this deal. And so there is a very long and very special chain of emails inside of his laptop that show that $49,910, go back to the article here, was owed back to him as a deposit. The building obviously wasn't going to keep that because the guy's last name. You can see now, like, they would keep your deposit if you just backed out of a deal. But if your last name is Biden, well, the building's going to give you that money back. Pretty nice chunk of change there. So what is curious here is that Hunter Biden, who was non-responsive to a lot of these emails, and eventually his assistant, Katie Dodge, finally responds in January 2018, saying that Hunter did want to terminate and that the deposit, giving the bank account where the deposit can be made. And then the deposit of $49,910 was made back into Hunter Biden's bank account in 2018, July of 2018. The lease was then terminated for the House of Sweden and the Chinese energy deal. Now show the Miranda Devine document. Curious that $49,910 was deposited in Joe Biden's bank account in July of 2018. And here, ladies and gentlemen, on this document, dated July of 2018, $49,910 is listed as the monthly rent that Hunter Biden just paid Joe Biden. There it is in black and white. Do you see it? Zoom in. Zoom in. Match those dates. Show me. Oh, it does not work on Twitter? That's fine. You can see it there. Monthly rent. Right there, ladies and gentlemen. We're doing our best here. We've done the research. We did our homework. We spent hours on this. The exact month that the Chinese energy deal fell apart, the exact dollar amount to the penny, Hunter Biden said he paid his father. Joe Biden never reported this money. What the hell is going on here? Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby. It gets better. It gets better. Because Joe Biden, in releasing his tax forms, the hubris of this is actually showing, Joe Biden didn't have to release his tax form. Joe Biden is actually showing that he is guilty of fraud. One of them is because this money went somewhere. Hunter Biden said he paid it to his father for rent. This exact same amount, the same deposit amount that he got from the breakdown of the deal with the Chinese communists. Joe Biden never declared it. Hunter's $49,910 deposit matches the amount of money he logged for a 2018 background document unearthed by the Post's Miranda Devine. Hunter claimed on the form he paid $49,000 a month in rent to his father. The lease dates on the chain show that the House of Sweden had already been delineated, given to Hunter. The background checks also note that Hunter Biden's residence was in Joe Biden's home in Wilmington, Delaware, where all of the top secret classified documents were kept. Ooh, man. Oh, man. Hunter Biden claiming he's renting this house. Hunter Biden claiming he lives in this house. Hunter Biden claiming he owns this house. What is going on? On Joe Biden's Schedule E, it listed only $19,000 in rents received. And then in 2018, this year, it listed no rents received. 2017 and 2018, respectively, on Joe Biden's taxes. How do we know this? Because Joe Biden released them. Because he's so filled. Pride cometh before destruction, the Bible says. He was so filled with hubris that he had nothing to hide, and that Donald Trump did. Donald Trump's taxes are released, and everyone goes snore. Donald Trump's the only man to ever get poorer after serving in public office in America. And Joe Biden is releasing these documents, and he's lying. It's obvious now that fraudulence is occurring and that money laundering is occurring. The Department of Justice, curiously, was interested in raiding Joe Biden's home, we now learn from the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal says that the Department of Justice was going to send federal FBI agents to raid Biden's home, but was called off by Biden's own Attorney General, Merrick Garland. There's a charge of obstruction of justice right there, in case you're a member of Congress interested in looking into this. And by the way, Scott Perry, who is a member of the Oversight Committee, will be joining us quite soon from the members of Congress. Maybe we'll ask him, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, the Department of Justice decided not to send an FBI raid into Joe Biden's home. Again, this seems like obstruction. You might want to argue this before a judge. Luckily, Judge Janine was on hand to tell us about it. Go.
This just in. Instead of stepping in and collecting Joe Biden's classified documents as part of their investigation, the Department of Justice decided to pull back the FBI and instead let Joe Biden's lawyers bring the documents, those classified documents, to them. But don't worry, at least they thought about it. And isn't it the thought that counts? The Wall Street Journal has just reported that the DOJ made that decision for two reasons. One, because Biden's attorneys were being good old boys and girls and, quote, cooperating. And two, they wanted to avoid complicating the investigation. Now, why does Biden get to search his own classified records while Donald Trump gets his house raided by the feds? Legal scholar Jonathan Turley makes the most sense of it, saying, quote, the president has a host of people who regularly handle classified material, so why use the lawyers? The answer appears the same as in the case of Hillary Clinton's emails control.
So, are you over the target yet? Over the target? Yeah. It's Hillary Clinton 2.0. That's what's happening right now. You're seeing a cover-up. You're seeing a crime. The bleach bit, has it been brought out? Have they literally smashed with a hammer their devices? This is the same thing they got Hillary Clinton on, the same thing they got Donald Trump on, the same thing they got Joe Biden on, in case you're wondering who's in charge, in case you're wondering who's running this operation. It is the same people who are enforcing these opaque rules about classification of top secret documents. It's the people packing the boxes inside of the Obama administration and shipping them off to Joe Biden's house. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden is no master criminal. He's a moron. These people are setting him up. These people know what they're doing. Why do you think Joe Biden and Donald Trump, the two presumed front runners of both parties in 2024, are getting the same business from the same people right now? Ask the question to yourself. What if the people who actually run this country hate your champion, Donald Trump, hate their champion, Joe Biden? Well, what does that mean? Well, maybe they just hate you. And maybe you're the problem. Maybe we, the people, are the problem. Then you're asking the right questions. Now you're asking the right questions. Because if they're going after the same people for the same thing, and they are using this as leverage to force them into either not running, humiliate them, disgrace them, pressure them like a mafia, like a cartel, then maybe we do have a government run by gangsters. Maybe we do have a government run by the cartels, and maybe that's okay. Why they're okay with the cartels literally running our border, because they themselves are a cartel. Those are some questions. Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, who was the Director of National Intelligence. That means he's overseeing the FBI. He's overseeing the CIA. He's overseeing all of these agencies. He did this for Donald Trump. He made some very sentient points last night, talking to Judge Jeanine, about this classification and about how Joe Biden is trying to cover up his crimes. It's not going to work. Watch.
If there were any reason to go into someone's house, to barrel in the early morning hours with the helicopters above, it would be to Joe Biden's home. Because now we know that there are more documents there that are 6 years old that relate to Ukraine, which is where Joe Biden went and said, if you don't take that prosecutor off my son's, the company's working for. And now we know his son was making $50,000 or $80,000 a month and paying his father $50,000. And the emails from Joe Bobulinski say Joe Biden got 10% because he was the big guy. No, is anyone going to investigate this? Do Americans should they have faith in the system anymore?
Well, Merrick Garland's screw-up has frankly, allowed for there to be a spotlight put on this. And now a Republican controlled House can conduct investigations that will show some of these details. And, Judge, as the former DNI, I would be doing the national security damage assessment for this. And in the case of Joe Biden, as we've just talked about, that's why it's gotten so much worse. Everything that we've talked about, the implications, part of that calculation, Judge, is not just the number of documents, top secret documents, but who may have potentially had access to that. And in the case of Hunter Biden, you have Ukrainian oligarchs, you have Chinese Communist Party associates, you have paid prostitutes, you have all sorts of unsavory characters, at locations that we keep finding day after day.
Oh man, did you hear it? Did you hear it? Did you pick up the little nugget there from the former Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe? Again, a member of Congress. He was on the Intel Committee. He this man knows classification more than anyone. Did you hear the nugget? Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Paid prostitutes. This is the same thing that James Comer said. We're going to go after the Bidens for human trafficking. Did you hear it? The Republicans are getting their act together. And it is a wonderful thing to see. And I don't rarely say that. I like to dunk on the Republican Party far more than the Democrat Party because, Democrats will stab me in the face. At least I know where they're coming from. Many Republicans will stab me in the back. This is the angle. Again, we will be joined by the chairman of the Freedom Caucus and somebody who's on the House Oversight Committee, and we'll ask them these questions, ladies and gentlemen. Light up the comment section. Let me know what you want us to ask Scott Perry from Pennsylvania, congressman who will be joining us in about 10 minutes. But until then, just in case you're wondering what a setup this is for Joe Biden and exactly how Joe Biden is currently in the process of being publicly humiliated, check out this leaked article about Joe Biden and nuclear football. Just in case you need further evidence that this is the deep state leaking on Joe Biden in order to get him out of the way because he is no longer useful to them. He is a muppet who's potentially dangerous to their plans for America. It can get worse, ladies and gentlemen. Watch this. They will continue to leak and humiliate death by 1,000 cuts, the ancient Chinese torture. How ironic. VP Biden insisted on a nuclear football briefcase using counterstrikes to protect the U.S. to remain a mile behind his motorcade in Wilmington to preserve the image of a regular Joe. In yet another reckless action threatening national security. Now, who would be leaking this? The deep state, to answer your question. And who is the deep state? Permanent Washington. People who are outside of democratic control, the republic control, people who live inside of a black box orbit that is not accountable to you, or the voters. These people hate Joe Biden. They've decided to turn on Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is a muppet that they are now going to throw in the garbage. After disclosure of his careless handling of classified documents, Joe Biden told Americans that he's really careful about handling the nation's secrets. Whenever Biden returned to his Wilmington home, however, often several times a week, he would insist that the military aide with the nuclear football remain at least a mile behind him in his motorcade. Even with no traffic, it would be impossible for the aide to catch up to Biden as he toured Delaware, meaning that he had been unable to launch a counterstrike in the event of a nuclear missile attack from China, Russia, North Korea. As revealed in my book, First Family Detail, Secret Service agents reveal the hidden lives of presidents. Secret Service agents say Biden simply wanted to preserve his image of a regular Joe. A long motorcade would have projected the wrong image. Never mind, if President Obama had been taken out, the country could have been obliterated by a nuclear attack because of Joe Biden's unparalleled irresponsibility and lack of judgment. Do you need further evidence that the deep state is turning on Joe Biden and that they're using his own idiocy against him? Even Joe Biden knows this. Watch what Joe Biden looked like yesterday at the White House, smirking at reporters and refusing to answer questions. Why? Because Joe Biden knows he's being set up here. Check this out.
Sir, what can you tell us?
Most transparent administration in American history, they told us. Most popular president in American history, they told us. And who was telling us that? Well, you often hear that repeated from Karine Jean-Pierre, or as we like to call her, Cringe Jean-Pierre. Now, we watch these White House press briefings. We're probably going to get early onset glaucoma from doing it because it hurts our eyes, hurts our brains so much. You need to go to a therapist after watching somebody lie with such aggression and such impaneled hubris like Karine Jean-Pierre. But, lying, as they say, is the native language of evil, the native language of Satan. Christ says this in the Bible. And so when you hear this many lies time after time after time, it sort of gives you solace that what you're fighting every single day. So we watched yesterday, and boy, did we get some plum sound bites for you. So Karine Jean-Pierre, Cringe Jean-Pierre, was asked directly, is Joe Biden oogling classified documents himself at his beach house with prostitutes, with Hunter Biden, and the Chinese that paid money for them? Watch the answer.
Is he physically joining in the search of these things, rummaging around, these boxes in the garage and wherever else? I mean, literally.
Are you listening to the question that you're asking me?
Seriously,
look,
seriously.
I mean,
where are these documents? Seriously,
okay,
is
look,
he taking
look,
part in searching for his own documents?
Look, I'm going to be very consistent here. I am going to be very clear here, as I have been for the past couple of days, almost a week now, dealing with this. We are going to, any specific questions that you have about this issue, I would refer you to my colleagues at the White House counsel's office.
I've been in media for the better part of 20 years. So I started writing for my school newspaper, right, when I was 16, 36 now. If you have to ask someone, do you know what you're doing right now? Do you hear what you're saying right now? Like you're like you're a Mean Girl character. Inside like you're who's the Mean Girl? Who's the head of the mean? Who's in charge of the Mean Girls? You don't. Oh, it's a famous movie. Nah, I can't. Lindsay Lohan, right? Rachel, Rebecca, whatever. Yeah. Why can't I come up with that name? Anyway. Like you're in a Lindsay Lohan movie. That's essentially what Karine Jean-Pierre's character is. A Lindsay Lohan movie. Regina George. Thank you, ALX. Goodness gracious, Royce. You hire these young people. They don't know movies. I guess this movie's like 20 years old, so it's older than Royce. So what can you say? Ladies and gentlemen, Regina George. This is who Karine Jean-Pierre, Cringe Jean-Pierre is, and she continues to cause cringe alerts left and right. I yelled at Royce after that. I said, you got to play the cringe alert before cringe Jean-Pierre. So ladies and gentlemen, cringe alert, Karine Jean-Pierre. Should Americans be outraged? Watch.
The White House says Republicans are faking outrage on this issue. Why shouldn't Americans be outraged about classified documents being found in a garage?
Look, and I think I've been very clear about this. We have answered questions on this at this podium. You've heard, as Phil was saying, twice from the president talk about this. He said that he didn't know, right? He said that he was surprised, and he said that he takes classified information and documents very, very seriously. We heard directly from the president on this issue.
He takes them so seriously that they're inside of a box with a lampshade on top of it in his garage. That's how seriously Joe Biden takes classified documents. Karine Jean-Pierre, you were telling us that there were no more documents on Friday, yet you found more documents. What's going on here? Further cringe from the White House. Take it away.
On Friday, you stood here, though, and were asked about the documents issued by our account some 18 times. At that point, the president's lawyers had found these 5 additional pages of classified documents. So did you not know on Friday that those documents had been found when you were at the podium, or are you being directed by someone to not be forthcoming on this issue?
I have been forthcoming from this podium. What I said yes to was what the statement at the time that we all had. Right, you all had the statement, and I was repeating what the council was sharing at that time. Right,
we had that statement, so we knew what was in it. But you also knew. Did you not know that?
I'm telling you, I just answered the question. I just said that I was repeating what the information that we had at that time, right? That you all had. I was confirming from what the special counsel had provided to all of you, and that we knew as well from here. So just to be very, very clear, and look. I've also been very clear about being prudent from here. I was also being very clear about being consistent from here and not going beyond what is currently happening, right?
I've been very clear about being prudent. I've been prudent from here. Oh, man. Oh, but it gets worse. You see, Karine Jean-Pierre has to speak for somebody in the English language who doesn't speak English, Joe Biden. Joe Biden makes up words like true international pressure and batacath care. And so she herself, who's not great at speaking English, is having a very difficult time here, especially when asked whether Joe Biden will sit for an interview with the special counsel that has been appointed by his own government to look into his own crimes. Watch.
More, because Ian did have that call today, and he said that the White House would, quote, fully cooperate with the investigation. Does that mean that President Biden is willing to be interviewed if called?
I'm just not gonna. You're asking a question that should go to the White House counsel's office. As you just said, Ian, you spoke to my colleague just moments ago. That is something that the White House counsel's office should be answering. Anything specific to the DOJ or special counsel, what they're doing, you need to reach out to them. Go ahead, Tam.
Yeah. Are you upset that?
Have you ever played poker? You have something called a tell, right? People have a tell when they're lying, right? Joe Biden goes like this when he's lying. Joe Biden laughs and looks down and goes like this with his binder. Karine Jean-Pierre's tell is that she starts to stutter. You saw it there in the clip. When she's lying, she starts to stutter, and then she stares at her podium, and then she does some type of hand motion. This is the tell. Again, we are the world's experts because we watch all of these live on the top of Karine Jean-Pierre's head. Because that's all she does. I've never seen anything like it. Normally, you'd think their face would be their most notable, recognizable aspect of their personhood. No, you see the top of this woman's head because all she does is stare at her podium and read the nose. Nobody. So she must have committed some type of horrible atrocity in a past life to have been given this curse. And so we are done cursing your screen with Karine Jean-Pierre clips, except for one more. One more. We got to play one more because this is the doozy. She was asked, why are you lying to us? Man, you're looking at like Trump-level aggression. It was the first time I told my team. It was the first time it looked like a Trump press conference. Remember Sarah Sanders would come out and she'd get like bricks thrown at her. Like, ah! Like, you know, people they throwing things. Oh, my God. Like, this is a Trump-level press conference, right? Remember Kayleigh McEnany? Boom, boom, boom. Sarah Sanders, boom, boom. Thank God for those two women, Sarah Sanders and the newly elected governor of Arkansas. Shout out if you're in Arkansas. Let me know in the comment section if you're watching from Arkansas and where you're watching from right now. But, this is the first time that it looked like a Trump press conference. They're like, why did you lie to us? This question's amazing. Why are you giving us false and fake information, covering up Joe Biden's crimes? Watch this clip. Take it away.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.
You told me during 6 times that turned out to be false. Are you sorry about that?
I'll see you tomorrow. Come talk to me. I'll see you tomorrow.
He is talking to you. He's literally talking to you. He just asked you a question. That's what talking is. He's just talking to you. Why didn't you answer the question? Look, did you see the fear in her eyes? By the way, that was Peter Alexander. This is a corporate media reporter who's asking that question. That was a member of the corporate press saying, why did you lie? You've given us 6 pieces of false information about Joe Biden and his handling of documents. We need the truth. We need to get to the truth. Now, there's only one organ of government, institutional government, that is controlled by Republicans. There's only one committee that I would trust to get to the truth, the Oversight Committee. And there's only one caucus in the Republican caucus that I would trust to actually push and drive, scratch and claw with the brutality and the brass knuckles that is required to actually get through this super state around Joe Biden that is protecting him and ushering him off into the pasture to try to be unharmed. And that is the Freedom Caucus, baby. Freedom Caucus had one hell of a start to 2023 and has, I think, rung in through their strength and through the bravery of their own members, the most conservative GOP House majority that we have seen in my entire life, without question. And one of the people to thank for that is Scott Perry. Scott Perry is the House Freedom Caucus chairman. He's also just named to the House Oversight Committee yesterday. Scott Perry joins us now. Welcome, Congressman. Thank you so much for being on the Benny Show. Really appreciate it. We hope that you don't do this entire interview looking directly at your notes from the top of your head.
I don't have any notes, so that should be easy. That should be an easy one to do.
All right, we've done the entire show on Joe Biden, his tax records, Hunter Biden paying taxes at a Wilmington house, the exact same amount that he got from the Chinese energy deal falling apart. All of this seems very suspicious. Why is Joe Biden not declaring this income? These are like federal tax forms. You cannot lie on these forms. Will you be looking into this, sir?
We will be looking into that, absolutely. And I hope that 87,000 new IRS agents will be looking into it with us. But even so, look, we're not counting on them. I guarantee you we're going to be taking a look at all the potentially nefarious activity. We don't want to cast aspersions without any proof. But look, there's a lot of smoke here, right? Whether it's China, whether it's Ukraine, and of course the payments, the rent payments from his son. There's a lot to look at here, and we're going to dig into it to make sure it's all in the up and up. There's a lot of people around the country that pack their lunch in the morning and leave the home in the dark to go work and follow the rules. And as Hillary Clinton says, no one's above the law, and that includes Joe Biden, right? So we're going to be taking a look. I guarantee you, Jim Jordan, Jamie Comer, and a lot of my friends on the Oversight Committee that you're already familiar with, we're going to be taking a look to see what the real truth is here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought up Hillary Clinton, because what everyone's going to say in the audience is, well, Hillary got away with it. So what are you going to do about it?
Well, that is an issue, and it remains an issue. Look, all we can do, we're not the police, we're not prosecutors. We can't execute the law, right? So what we can do is investigate and highlight all these things and then turn them over. If Merrick Garland doesn't want to do anything about it, look, there's an election coming, and that's where the American people can decide, are there two systems of justice? I think we know that clearly there are. This is just the latest example. Tomorrow there'll be another example, but that will be their opportunity. Of course, we have the opportunity now, and we have to take it to show them what's happening, and then they can make the choice of look, if he's not going to be prosecuted, if he did indeed break the law, then there's an opportunity to change who the prosecutor is, and you do that by changing the president.
Interesting. Yes. And obviously, the change of the president was very interesting in 2020 when we had the Tony Bobulinski bombshell. They, of course, worked so hard to suppress this story. Through the Twitter files, we know that active government agents acted against Donald Trump, who was the sitting president, in order to suppress this story, to harm Donald Trump. Coup d'etat is what we call it on this show. However, now you have Tony Bobulinski who's ready to talk. I mean, you know, I see him on TV regularly. Will he be called in as a witness to the Biden crime family by your committee?
And I've talked to Representative Comer and have every confidence that we will now be hearing from Tony Bobulinski, and we'll be hearing that side of the story. Of course, there have been plenty of people that have been willing to talk. There have been whistleblowers that have come from the FBI and other agencies that have talked to members of Congress. But let's face it, Nancy Pelosi, Jerry Nadler, and the folks in charge for the past 2 years, past 4 years, have had zero interest in getting to the bottom of any of this. Now's going to be the opportunity. My concern, quite honestly, is how much time we have. The breadth and the depth of how much we have to look at, whether it's censorship from big tech and collaboration with the federal government, or just a general weaponization of the agencies against the American people, to the straight up potential corruption by the administration and individuals in it with other countries, the selling of influence, all those things. We have so much to look at. We're really going to have to focus our attention, and because we have a limited amount of time to show this to the American people and be absolutely sure about it. But I guarantee you, everybody's rights are going to be respected, but we are going to focus on what the truth is and show the American people what that truth is.
Will you subpoena Hunter Biden?
I sure hope so. Yeah, I sure hope so. I will tell you, I have served for my period of time, and I will tell you this, under Republicans, there hasn't been one subpoena that I know of. Under Paul Ryan, we were begging him to subpoena over the Trump-Russia thing, and he would not do it. I think there's a different sheriff in town. That's going to be led by Jim Jordan. I think you're going to see a lot of subpoenas. Let's face it, there's not going to be a lot of legislation that passes the House that gets through Schumer to Biden. But what we can do is the oversight that's required by the legislative branch, and that requires getting people to talk. They're not going to give us documents, but they're not going to be able to avoid coming in and speaking. So I think you're going to see that.
I think that people are very much wanting simply the truth, and truth is, of course, a prerequisite to reconciliation. Having a shared truth is a prerequisite to our republic and to the stories that we tell ourselves about our republic. Now we're going to find out the truth about January 6th. The leader of the House is saying that he's going to release all the footage. Do you agree with this? What's going to happen on that front?
Yes, I do agree. Look, I actually think that that committee should actually be stood up correctly, so it's actually a bona fide legitimate committee, and then we ought to actually have an investigation which would include the person most in charge or directly in charge of security. That would be Speaker Pelosi, and what her involvement has been in this. And then let's find out why we have political prisoners in the United States of America that are awaiting trial and so on and so forth 2 years on. So I absolutely think we need to get to the bottom of that so that the American people can see the whole story, not just the propaganda that has been forced on us by the left.
Based. So incredibly based. I have a gavel here that says based on it, so we smash the gavel. We'll do a graphic soon where you're just based. It's like, great, thank you for saying that. It's so refreshing to hear, because it really has been a political persecution, and people are done. They are done with the political persecution, but more importantly, they're done not being fought for. And you and the Freedom Caucus fought. And you fought for a better Congress and better rules. Can you tell me what your major takeaway is on this gavel battle?
So the major takeaways, I think, are this. First of all, we had what was called a 3-day rule for not only members of Congress, but for citizens to read bills that came to the floor. But understand, 3 days to you in America is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or something like that. In Congress, 3 days is on day 1, 1 second before midnight. On day 2, 24 hours. And on day 3, 1 second after midnight. So that's 24 hours and 2 seconds, right? That was the 3-day rule. We said, no, we want 72 hours to read bills. Should be an easy ask, but it was a fight, just like almost everything else. And then single subject. So first time ever in congressional history, you know, they have these bills that are like Christmas trees, right? They hang all these ornaments on it. Your representative says, well, I had to vote for that terrible bill because it had one thing that I wanted in it, and I got all the other stuff. That's over now. There's no reason we need to take up any of those kind of things. And the things that are put on those bills now have to be germane. So we can't run a highway bill and then put, the LGBTQ amendment on it and say it's germane, because it's not germane. So let's deal with the subject. Let's know what our amendments are, and let's know directly what our representatives are voting on. Let's not give them a place to hide. And then finally, a better look across the different committees of what Congress actually looks like. You send your representatives there, and if they're, as you call, based or conservative, they're not allowed on certain committees. Well, how can you represent your community if you're not allowed on the committee? So all that is changing as we speak right now. We've got the tools now to fight. And what we've learned from this, and what I think most conservatives know, if we fight and we fight smart, we can win. And we just have.
Yeah. So tell me about the esprit de corps of the Republican caucus right now. Obviously, it was quite a fight. We have this beautiful article. I believe you. Where are you on this one? You're in a.
Let me see.
There you are, right there. Yeah, there you go. Okay, nice. Good. $10 grin right there, along with other incredible members. We see Gosar, MTG, Lauren Boebert, a lot of your caucus members on here. What is the esprit de corps like for Republicans in Congress? Is everyone ready to set things aside and get to work?
I think they are. Look, there's always going to be a couple hard feelings, but the way it's been done in the past is a few people decided what these big bills were going to be, and then they jammed them down to everybody's throat and threatened people to vote for them. Let's face it, it's not going to work. It hasn't worked, and with a four-seat majority, it's just untenable. So what we've set up is a system where we're all get in the car, in the garage, and we're going to leave together, as opposed to the car leaving the garage with one person in it, and then it gets to the destination, then they demand and force everybody to get in it. If we all leave together at the same time, knowing what we're getting into, then we can be united, because it's not going to be a crap bill that only a couple of people decided. It's going to be a bill that we all worked on together, and it's not full of garbage. And so I think the esprit de corps is going to really come up when we start getting some legislative wins.
Congressman, we just really deeply thank you for having the capacity to fight, the will to power. We are missing so many. We're missing, it's incredible. Republican leadership has been invertebrate over the last couple decades of my lifetime. It has been, jellyfish-like. And so seeing an iron spine, seeing brass balls, seeing gunpowder in the gut, it's just wonderful. You guys are banging on the shields, and it is truly remarkable to see. I'll let you have the last word. What is the thing that the viewers should the most look forward to or be watching? Maybe it's not on their radar just yet. What do you know that's coming down the pipeline that we should be paying attention to?
Well, what's coming down the pipeline is Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden think they're going to jam us with some crazy spending bill that they haven't even voted on in the Senate. But what they don't realize yet is we have a set of rules now in the House that also applies to Senate bills. So that Christmas tree that they send over with all their ornaments on it, we're just going to send it back and say, look, we'll take the tree, get rid of the ornaments, and then we'll talk to you later. That's what's coming, and I think that's going to be very refreshing to the American people. Look, it's not rocket science. It's not higher math. It's not brain surgery. It's just courage and the will to go fight for your constituents. That's all it takes.
Boom. Just give me a Congress. Just give me a Congress with a couple more Scott Perry. We have a different country. We have an absolute different country. So thank you so much, Congressman. Godspeed. You're doing God's work.
Thank you. God bless you and your audience. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Boom, baby. We told you. We're on the horn. We're calling. We're working the phones. We're working our contacts. Everyone up on Capitol Hill, they watch the show. Mark my words. We know the people who watch this show. We know every single office. You can check on social media. They follow us. We are pushing for you. We are driving for you. Real actual change. Real actual access. We are the ones pushing the narrative for you. Making sure that your questions get asked. Are you going to impanel an impeachment panel for Joe Biden? Are you going to bring Hunter Biden in? Are you going to bring Toby Bobolinsky in? What are you going to do? And we're going to hold them to it. So we are here for you. This is a movement. This is us, baby. You and me. You and your boy, Benny. That's why we say, it's your boy, Benny. And we are here to make sure that the people who commit crimes are held accountable, like Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg arrested yesterday. Smirking Greta Thunberg hauled off for a second time as climate activists clash with German riot cops at coal mine. So here's the clip that was put out there by the Prague left-wing media to say that teeny little Greta, who's no longer teeny, and she's no longer little, She's like nearing middle age, it looks like, looking much more like a Game of Thrones character than some cute little Swedish teenager who cares about the climate. How dare you? Watch her getting hauled off and folded like a cheap chair.
You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. We inform you that you...
Okay, so a couple problems here. One, why is there so many cameras around? What's going on? Like, is this just a giant photo op? Sure seems like it. And in fact, it was. There was other footage released of Greta Thunberg getting arrested, detained, and, well, let's just say that this is faker than the moon landings. Watch.
You also want those for you guys?
Wie sieht's denn aus mit der Abfahrtsstraße?
Was mit der?
Okay, so Greta Thunberg is there laughing and giggling. The photographers are directing them around. You can see the microphones hidden behind them and on their persons. You can see that Greta Thunberg is doing this obviously for the publicity, and she is standing very close. Look at that photo. Look at that smug photo of her in detention. Wow. Can I get put in that kind of... Can that be the vehicle that takes me into the studio every single day? That looks pleasant. Can I get carried around like that? Look, she's smiling. Look. You can see her cracking a smile. Performative, globalist, World Economic Forum garbage. And that's exactly what's going on right now. And as the World Economic Forum, there's all these panic articles written about how they are losing power and how globalism is losing. And it's losing because of people like John Kerry. John Kerry was speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos yesterday, saying exactly what we all believed about John Kerry. Now, you remember the clip of John Kerry flying in a private jet to go accept an award in Iceland for climate activism? And he was asked, why are you in a private jet? What's going on with you? And John Kerry goes, well, it's the only way to travel for people like me. In case you're wondering if our contention that there is an oligarchy, that our problem here is oligarchy, our problem here is that there is two tiers of people, and that's what they want, that they don't want an equal society, they want a deeply unequal society where you have nothing. I mean, they say this. It's not a conspiracy theory. They promote it. You have nothing and you are happy. We have everything. We get to use internal combustion engines. We get to produce carbon. We get to eat beef. We get to do space travel. We get to be rich. And you have to live in the pod and eat the bug. Shut up, slave. In case you're wondering if this is just the new form of slave owners, and if you yourself, like they don't need chains anymore. They don't need chains anymore for slavery, all right? They have plenty, they have their chains, okay? This is a chain right here. There you go. It's a chain. Television is a chain. Mind control is a chain. That these are the chains, actually, of slavery. Consumerism is a chain. And bread and circuses are a chain. Definitely not eggs in circuses. Nobody's rich enough to afford eggs. Not even John Kerry. John Kerry, yesterday, making all of these predictions true in one line. John Kerry saying that the people at Davos are special people. That they are extraterrestrial in their capacity to be better people than just you and me. Okay? Watch this clip of this absolute smug a-hole.
And when you stop and think about it, it's pretty extraordinary that we, select group of human beings, because of whatever touched us at some point in our lives, are able to sit in a room and come together and actually talk about saving the planet. I mean, it's so almost extraterrestrial to think about, quote, saving the planet. If you said that to most people They think you're just a crazy tree-hugging, lefty, liberal, do-gooder, whatever, and there's no relationship. But really, that's where we are.
What did touch you and your friends at some point? I would love to get information on that, John Kerry. What touched us at some point in our lives? Well, why don't you tell us, actually? What did touch you at Little St. James on Jeffrey Epstein's island? Why don't you and Bill Gates and Bill Clinton and all you climate-saving people, Sam Bankman-Fried, why don't you all get together, sit under oath, and tell us about your little Epstein Island trips? Maybe then you can tell us what touched you. Maybe you can release Epstein's client list. And actually, if you did that, then you wouldn't have any Davos because half those people would be in jail. Just a thought. Just a thought. Don't read Ashley Biden's diary. Ladies and gentlemen, these people, they don't need chains for slaves anymore. These people are the slave owners of the modern day. They wish to enslave you. They wish to enslave your mind. They wish to lock you up. But luckily, we have a purpose. In fact, a destiny to be free. We were created to be free by a creator who actually loves freedom. And we share with you every single show a Bible verse that we like. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the one that we chose today. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? Do not be afraid of the Davos elite. Do not be afraid of people with more money than you, or presumably more power than you. Do not be afraid of the fact that they seem to be in charge of things. They are not. They are dumb. These people are morons. They've always been morons. Evil actually makes you a stupid person. Banality and the self-flagellation of these people make them weak. And so we shall be instead strong, because we know where our strength comes from, ladies and gentlemen. God, family, country. That's where our strength comes from. We say it on the show every single day. God, family, country. Why do we do the show? What's our driving force? Who's funding this? God, family, country. That's it. Pretty simple. Ha! And you know what? The simple truths are the ones that matter the most. And it's right here. And so we thank you. You guys are right here. You're in our hearts. We thank you for watching this show. We will always bring you excellence. We will strive because we want to fight with you and for you. And so that's what we're going to be doing. Man, these next 2 years are going to be rocking and rolling. So get ready, buckle up. Your boy Benny is here along for the ride. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Benny Johnson. See ya.